You are
I'm an agriculture researcher.
Okay, and concerned citizen.
Concerned citizen.
So John was telling me, and John Duarte, you have Duarte Nursery, and
Yes.
you also ran for MID board.
I did.
But you have not given up the fight. You are
No.
still that firecracker that I saw a few months ago.
Well,
so tell me what's going on with MID.
Well, I ran for MID because I was concerned about the district. I was very concerned about water transfers and the long-term water sale, which I've held as preposterous from the beginning of my campaign. Larry Bird's in there. I believe he's going to be on the right side of these issues. I believe he's going to do what he can to improve the district. I believe he's going to do what he can to stop the water sale. And those are the things that are important to me, so I'm almost just as happy working from this side of things as elected, but that's okay. We've been very involved with a number of people, the Stanislaus Taxpayers Association. Farm Bureau has come out, both the local county Farm Bureau and the State Farm Bureau have come out just in the last couple of days with strong positions against the long-term water transfer to San Francisco. So we're very excited about that. We're finally not tilting windmills as individual concerned citizens, but we've got some of the public interest organizations in the area really weighing in heavily, and that's going to be a great asset when it comes to actually derailing this sale and looking to do some things that are much more positive for the district.
Does the MID board allow for public comment, like the city council meeting or board of supervisors or something like that? So you can go to these meetings and then you can stand up and say, "We don't want this."
Yes.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay.
yes. Yep. 5 minutes.
And are you going to? Oh, you get 5 minutes.
You get 5 minutes, which is a lot of time.
That is a lot of time. That is a lot of time. Are you going to be there tomorrow?
Absolutely, both of us will be.
Now, what is your part in all of this?
I'm a grower, have a small farm, but my client base historically is agriculture, as much as John's is broadly. And without water, we don't have agriculture, and without ag, we don't have a community. They're talking about selling 30,000 acre feet for $25 million a year to San Francisco. But if that same water were put into the community, it's worth $500 million every year. That's a 20-fold value if the water is kept here and used in the community. So, and we're on the 9th of January without rain, and we're in a full-blown drought right now. They're putting water back into the canals right now to start to irrigate when we ordinarily wouldn't do that until mid-March. And MID asserts that we've got plenty of water, but when we've asked them to show us the modeling and the assumptions to prove that we do have the water, their response is, "Oh, well, that's protected by attorney-client privilege. We're not going to show you." So the integrity behind the promotions of what's being said and what's being done are completely disconnected. I attended all 4 of the community meetings where General Manager Alan Short got up and made the same formal presentation, but kept polishing it to step away of any contentious things that he heard from the audience in the prior meeting. And it was virtually 100% opposed to this water sale, of either the small one tomorrow or the larger one that would be, we expect to be coming very shortly. And when asked at the end of the 4th and last meeting where Alan was at after hearing virtually 100 people give testimony that they were opposed to it, he said, "Oh, well, I think it's a great idea, we're moving ahead." So it was, none of the 4 community meetings were recorded. They were not hearings. There's no evidence that there was 100 people that said that they're opposed to it. So this whole thing is very troubling. There's no transparency. We don't know who this water is going to be actually used by in the 2,200 acre feet being discussed tomorrow. And Ag asked the question about, well, if you're going to get $25 million a year, are you going to spend that on improving infrastructure and delivery for ag customers? And the response is no. We're going to put it into the general fund and spend it as we see fit for current obligations. There's no infrastructure improvements in the 2012 budget at all. 0.
What does the Farm Bureau have to say about this?
Well, they're very concerned. They're concerned about the long-term nature of the transfer. We just don't know where we're going to be for a number of reasons. There's a lot of reasons not to sell water for 50 years. First of all, one of the directors told me
50 years is a long time.
one of the directors that's been there, not one of the new directors, John, let's just call it permanent.
Yeah.
This is a permanent sale. We've got, we've had 2 wet years. Before that, we had 3 years of drought, fairly dry years. We saw the devastation that a lack of farm water had on the west side of the valley here. We have a FERC relicensing of the Don Pedro Reservoir, a once every 50-year relicensing from the Federal Energy Resources Commission. We don't know what the demands are going to be put upon us. I don't think any centrist guess would be that we won't have less than 10,000 acre-feet lost in that process. It could go up to another 25,000 acre-feet. That process is underway, won't be finished for another couple of years. That's another demand on our surface water. Currently, we've read all about the water treatment plant we're building. We've got one water treatment plant in operation now. It's using and treating for domestic local use 33,000 acre-feet a year. We're building another water treatment plant for another 33,000 acre-feet of surface water a year to use locally. So when you start adding up 33,000 plus 10,000, and you say, how do we know that we're going to have adequate water for our farmers? We can't know that. They won't share the models that demonstrate how even retrospectively this would have worked. They claim, Alan Short and the management team in Modesto Irrigation District have claimed that through conservation we can make this water available. We saw retired ditch tenders and water managers from MID stand up at these meetings and say, no, we've never wasted anywhere near that amount of water in our system. In fact, in dry years, we've conserved every last drop and wasted a maximum of a couple thousand acre-feet in spillage into the river that could have been used for agriculture. So there's a lot of misrepresentation that's happening. One of the troubling sets of facts that we uncovered, we've done, a number of us, concerned citizens and members of groups, have presented Freedom of Information Act requests to the district.
Yeah, so you can know what's going on.
Yeah, I requested that Mr. Short make known to me all Central Valley communities, irrigation districts, and individual farmers who've requested to have a water transfer considered by Modesto Irrigation District. There are years when Modesto Irrigation District has more water than it needs for local use. That's part of the rain patterns and weather patterns that we get. They wrote back to me and said, nobody, we haven't kept track of it. We would have to, they wanted to charge me $1,400 to go through Alan Short's email and phone messages for the last 3 years to find out who actually called in requesting water. Wow, they didn't even track inquiries outside of this one. Well, one of the excuses given was we have a long-term exclusive arrangement with City County of San Francisco, and if we have any water available, they'll be likely to get it. Well, another friend of ours, Dave Thomas from Stanislaus Taxpayers Association, asked them, show me your statutory authority. Show me where the board gave you authority to go and negotiate this far along a deal with the City and County of San Francisco.
Now, is it the staff that's negotiating?
Yes, it's the management.
The management and not the board.
Exactly.
Okay.
What they gave us was a 1995 board resolution that directed management and staff to consider water transfers on a year-to-year basis from time to time that would be 50% prepaid, that would be careful not to threaten the long-term water rights of the Modesto Irrigation District, that would not affect the groundwater quality of the irrigation district, and that would not have water quality as a primary component of them. Well, in that 17 years between 1995 and now, the management and staff, even directed by the board to go pursue short-term water transfers, hadn't presented one single water transfer to a group within this valley. They didn't, by evidence of my response, they didn't even keep a record of who was asking.
So I'm gathering that it's not very transparent.
No, there's
the dealings between the board, the staff, and the public, and water sales.
No, nowhere near adequate transparency here.
I see you brought a lot of paperwork over there.
Yes, I took probably 25 pages of notes at each of the 4 community
You came fully
meetings.
prepared.
Well, this 5 or so pages is 17 bullet points that MID put out as their water transfer facts, and they sent it out a couple days before Christmas. In comparing the 17 points in what they put out as their water facts with the nearly identical presentations in the 4 community meetings, probably 15 out of the 17 are in direct conflict with what was presented to the community versus what they're putting up and stating as facts now.
Well, it was interesting, the timing, 2 days before Christmas.
That's how they do business. The agenda for tomorrow's meeting is put out on Friday night.
Last Friday.
Last Friday.
Has it changed between last Friday night and tonight?
Actually, it has. I heard today that there
was a good question.
Yeah. I heard today that the 2,200 acre foot sale, which is the small sale, and I say little stupid is not smarter than big stupid. I mean, the little stupid sale they're looking to do is on the agenda, and there was direction in the initial board packet agenda that allowed the management to continue negotiating on the 25,000 acre foot sale, because they don't have authority under the current 95 board resolution, in my opinion, to pursue that. They've peeled off the 25,000 acre foot sale from the agenda tomorrow. So at the last minute, they're modifying the agenda. Farm Bureau, for instance, has come out. If you saw the letter that Ron Peterson wrote in the President of Stanislaus County Farm Bureau wrote in the Modesto Bee today, the Farm Bureau the local board had taken a position against the larger sale and was ready to present tomorrow. As I understand it, they're going to have to get back together tomorrow.
And now they've pulled it off.
Now they've pulled it off. They've got to have a resolution again from their board to oppose the 2,200 foot sale. And that's what MID has been doing. Their publication of their announcement of the public meetings was in such a short time frame last fall that the Chamber of Commerce, the Farm Bureau, the Alliance, all of the groups that advocate jobs and economy and would be against transferring water out of our area because it would hurt the economy and hurt jobs in Stanislaus County, didn't have time to get together with their boards and come up with resolutions. Concerned citizens like Reed and I, we can say, hey, we don't like this. We can show up tomorrow and testify to it. If you're the executive director of the Farm Bureau or the Chamber of Commerce, you can't do anything until your board has met on it and can take a position. By these really short, abrupt agenda changes, there's been very, very little opportunity for the local interest groups to come down to the Modesto Irrigation District Board meetings and present their perspective on these issues.
Well, it kind of sounds like this is a kangaroo court in full session, and the MID ratepayers and the farmers even are the defendants.
Yeah. Well, MID is $1.3 billion in debt. The average monthly charge over evenly distributed over all electric users is $600 a month of interest alone. That's before you get one electron through to a light bulb.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Quite honestly, I don't see where $25 million in selling our water down the river
you're absolutely right.
Is going to help things, but
right.
And it's not being spent on infrastructure to improve water deliveries or water usage.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you was about if you have any statistics about other agricultural communities that have sold their non-recurring resources. In other words, when we sell almonds, we don't sell the whole tree. And it seems like that's what they're doing with the water.
Yeah. They're places you've never heard of unless you're into California water law, like Brenda Mesa down in the South Valley.
What happens if we sell the non-recurring resource when our resource is then gone?
Look at Owens Valley.
Is it a dust bowl?
Owens Valley had their irrigation water purchased from them by Los Angeles back in the 1900s. It is a complete dust bowl. Hang gliders set records in Owens Valley. That's all there is to do there is to ride the thermal updrafts from the bare ground. There used to be a thriving farm community there. It's gone. It's down there east of LA, kind of northeast of LA in the San Bernardino Mountains.
Would you like to talk about those 17 bullet points?
Actually, I've covered many of them, but
okay.
one of the ones that was curiously left out of the facts sheet was that the opening position and presentation at each of the community meetings was that MID needed to sell this 30,000 acre feet of water to San Francisco and curry the favor of Senator Dianne Feinstein to have her come and interfere in the relicensing of Don Pedro Dam's regulatory process.
Interfere or intervene?
What's the difference?
Depends what side you're on.
Either way,
there really isn't.
Either way you're looking at it, it's a quid pro quo.
Well, why is Feinstein being asked to come over here in the Central Valley?
Well, Alan.
Well, she's our senator.
And Alan Short traveled to Washington, D.C. the week before the first community meeting to meet with her.
But
So
why doesn't she just save water over there?
The Don Pedro Reservoir is a joint asset, and with
Okay,
the
there's
FERC
the
licensing,
answer. Okay.
we're going to have both the city and county of San Francisco's use of that asset as well as our use of that asset reviewed in the FERC licensing.
Okay.
If we have to give up 15,000 acre feet, city, county, San Francisco is going to have to give up 15,000 acre feet. One suspicion is that they want to buy this water from us for 50 years, the same length of the license that we're looking to renew,
Infinity.
to match their
What-
part of the water that they'll be forced to give
I
up
see.
in the
what they're
FERC
going
I
to
see.
license.
lose.
So they'll buy it over here and give it up over here, and
No
it's,
net change.
it's like a water shell
Yeah,
game.
$25 million to city and county of San Francisco is nothing. $500 million in economic impact is everything to us.
Mhm.
And a $500 million loss to agriculture community is enormous, and that's every single year. We have food commodities coming from numerous surrounding counties coming into the food processors in Modesto. And if this water is not going to be used in ag, even the industrial parts of Modesto and all the suppliers are impacted. So the churn on a $500 per acre farm gate value back into the community is just enormous, and it's ongoing. It's every year.
Well, that's something that you were explaining before the election.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it as far as like every acre foot is worth X amount of money just straight across the board. But then when it's filtered back
The
into the
economic
community,
multiplier.
yeah, it's like
is
to the
big.
7th or 8th power. I mean, it
It's
keeps
huge.
multiplying itself.
It
So
really is.
is the opposite true as well? If the water sale goes through and it's sold for $25 million, that's $25 million, does it, by the 6th or 7th or 8th power, deplete?
Absolutely. Here's where MID is right now. It's been poorly run for a long time. They have huge pension obligations. They have huge interest on the debt, as Rita was describing. We don't have any power usage growth. We used to grow our power customer base by about 3% a year. And sometimes when you have problems and you're an entity that has financial issues, you can kind of outgrow your problems if you just get smart and don't make any more mistakes and keep growing. That's what the U.S. keeps hoping to do with its debt. We don't have that in Modesto, in Stanislaus County. We've got a contracting economy. In 2008, we peaked on total kilowatts sold at MID, and it's been trailing down since. And with a lot of customers going on to green energy, a lot of manufacturers leaving California, we have a continually shrinking rate base. We have empty houses. We have empty shopping centers. Those guys aren't buying electricity. So all these legacy costs, as well as stranded assets, power lines that aren't carrying as much power as they could, are put on a smaller and smaller ratepayer base. Those of us who are left here have to not only pay for the electrons, we have to pay for the overhead, the interest. Well, if you shrink the local economy and you have all these legacy costs in place, we're looking at major solvency issues for the district. We need this water to grow our economy. In '89, I was just out of college, starting at Doherty Nursery. The local agricultural output of Stanislaus County was below $1 billion. We weren't in the $1 billion club at that time. It's kind of competitive. I want to be in the $1 billion club. Fresno's been in it. Kern's been in it for a while. San Joaquin was just barely in it. Well, this last farm gate value report put out by the Ag Commissioner's Office, Stanislaus County is now in the $2.57 billion club. We're not talking about maintaining agriculture in Stanislaus County. We're talking about an industry that needs to thrive. And only if we keep agriculture thriving and the related industries and jobs base thriving on top of that, to get to the $11 billion economic impact agriculture has in Stanislaus County a year, will MID be able to enjoy the customer base that allows it to solve some of its financial challenges.
And if we're losing ag base and if we're not getting the churn from that $500 billion, the current electric rates are 300% what they were 10 years ago. If we're losing people and then the economy is being depleted, the industrial part of the county is not thriving, the fixed costs are there, and electric rates are just going to continue to skyrocket.
It sounds like if the water sale goes through that within a short amount of time, Stanislaus County could implode upon itself.
There's a tipping point.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
John
Thank you,
Duarte
Athens.
and Reed Smith. and they are the MID watchdogs, and they will be back in just a few weeks to tell us. Well, I don't know about Reed Smith. You're invited back as well.
Thank you. I'll do that.
They'll be back in a few weeks to tell us how the sales are going at MID, and hopefully
Not going.
Not going. Yes, not going. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm Athens Abell on Watch, Channel 23. Good night. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And you're welcome to come back anytime.
We'll do that. We'll
Yeah.
probably.